Hey everybody, welcome to the post-mortem edition of Flames Unfiltered. We are your hosts, Kyle Lewis and Brad Burud. I never know how to start a lot of these shows when I start them, and this one in particular is perhaps the most difficult one to start yet. So,
you seem sadder than me.
Well, it's funny. I was explaining it today to a coworker. For me, it's like it's almost like I have one less responsibility, so I'm not happy about it. In fact, it is quite sad. But it's like now it's just like, okay, well, I don't have to worry about that anymore. So
Freeze up the calendar.
Yeah, I'll stress about something else. And I decided to have some fun on X with it last night. Just posted a bunch of ridiculous tweets.
I read them. Yeah. I laughed. I did. I've had a few that were stupid. I don't know. Like last night was it? You remember the night we had the trade night this year when Frost and Farabee and the excitement there was with that?
So fun, yeah.
Like last night had a little bit of that that Super Tuesday feel, but like this whole last week has been like this team's never say die, but they just like keep self-inflicting wounds along the way. Yeah, and making it harder. And then last night, like I was excited to watch. And then Utah just falls apart. St. Louis gets out to this quick lead, 4-0 in the first. I'm like, that game's done. Like I'm done. I'm sick of Utah. And then I'm like watching, and all I could think the whole time is like, I live next door to Minnesota. I know Minnesota sports. These guys choke. They choke. And they get down to Anaheim, and I'm like, oh, here we go. But then I'm thinking, I'll be more pissed. I was going to be more pissed today if we would have lost and Anaheim would have won. I'd have been more pissed today. But we came back. We took care of our business and come back and win it in overtime or shootout, whatever, same thing. We get 2 points. Let's call it that. And then 20 seconds, 18 something. And it's like, ugh. Gut-wrenching.
Yeah, it was this really shitty feeling. I was kind of like blown away too, and we'll dive into a little bit of this. I knew it had been a while. I didn't realize it was 26 games since Morgan Frost last scored a goal.
Me either, because I thought the last 10, like I did have some frustration with him, but the last 10 games, I was really actually happy with the way he played, and he was creating chances, and all I could think of was they're going to start going in.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's kind of what I mean. The way that he's played. I mean, he's definitely created some chances of late. But anyway, I mean, it's easy to pick on individual players in a situation like this, but ultimately, I'm struggling with the competing narratives. Like, there's obviously a lot of people that are proud. Mackenzie Weegar echoed that post game, and rightfully so. But ultimately, the team definitely overachieved, but still didn't get the job done.
Like, I don't know, maybe I'm an ass, but I mean, I think it's good for like the players to be proud, but like, I think that's kind of and I like Mackenzie Weegar, and I mean, me and you have talked about it frequently that he's probably in line for me to be the next captain of this team. And I have a ton of respect for him, but I hate those words. And is it bad to me? I kind of expected to see a little more anger out of the Flames last night. Like mad at themselves. It's like, I mean, they took care of business, so it's hard to be mad then, but they didn't take care of business, and I can point to the game. Last Wednesday, April 9th, Anaheim, 3-1 lead, 4 minutes to go, and you only get a point. That point right there, you're out. We talked about the 2 games in St. Louis all year, right? Those are defining moments in the season. And I still think those are critical aspects in us not taking St. Louis's spot. But I'm telling you, that loss on Wednesday night, stick a knife in your heart. That was it. That was it.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I've been kind of towing that line for a little while now, believing that they weren't going to make it as much as I wanted them to. And ultimately, yeah, we could point to several points in the season where they just weren't good enough. And I agree with your point about the anchor, because yeah, again, the team, they should be proud of a lot of what they accomplished, but
For sure. They overachieved all of our expectations, all of them. I have our predictions. We'll talk about it next episode. They overachieved, but you're right, Kyle. Like last Wednesday night, like I didn't feel like they were as pissed off as they should have been at that effort in the last 4 minutes. My goodness, that's a point. They gave away a point. They actually handed a point. We have numerous situations this year where, the St. Louis sticks out. I know a lot of people talked about on X last night and today about, well, if they would have counted one of those pucks over the line, and I couldn't agree more. But I can't control that, and the Flames can't control that. But they sure as hell could have controlled at 16:02 of the third period a 3-1 lead against one of the worst teams in the league is the Anaheim Ducks, and we only get a point. That was in their control, and they didn't take care of business that night. Now they're out of the playoffs.
No, exactly. And there was several other nights we could point to where they didn't take care of business, where they fell apart, where they generated zero offense, for the power play failed them. Rarely any issues with goaltending that we talked about. So,
nope. I didn't think Dustin Wolf was great in the early parts of last night. The latter parts of the game is unreal. It's unbelievable. And for me to even say that he wasn't great in the beginning, I should probably punch myself, because there's been so many nights that he's been just flat out amazing. And I'm going to contradict exactly what I said about being mad. If, as Flame fans, there is one thing we need to be happy with this season done,
Dustin Wolf.
Well, we know we have a starting goalie now.
But we have a franchise goalie, I think.
Absolutely. So what is that? Think about that. Think how important that is to the future success. And we've established that now in this season. Yeah, that's a win, right? That's a check mark in a positive way.
Well, this is what, how I get stuck on stats sometimes. This is what I'm kind of stuck on. I presume they're going to give the last game of the season to Wolf. If he wins, and they should, because I don't think Vladar is playing another game here. But also, Wolf is at 29 wins, and he deserves a chance to grab 30.
I agree with you. I just think that here's going to be tell me if I'm wrong on this one. I think this team wants to sign Dan Vladar because I think this is a good tandem. I do. I really think it's a good tandem.
Oh, I do too. I do too.
Vladar, and I think they're going to give him the last game, and we'll see what happens. I could be completely wrong on that. I just think they rode Wolf hard. And I know this doesn't matter if we win or lose, but with these young players that we'll talk about here in a little bit going to be playing, it'd be kind of fun to end with 2 points. And I think both Vladar and Wolf give you that chance. And I just think that maybe we throw a bone to Vladar and maybe try to get this guy signed at maybe equal in dollars as he is right now and see what happens. But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
And I'm okay with that too. I mean, Vladar has expressed a willingness to stay in Calgary, but I think now knowing that it's no longer a fight for starts because he's only getting what he's going to get, he might be inclined to apply his trade elsewhere if there's opportunities elsewhere, which I suspect there will be. But that's probably the least of our concerns right now. So we'll see how that plays out over the coming months.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I don't. Very rarely on this show do I not want to talk about something, but right there, I don't really want to talk about that much more because we need to save that when we need something to talk about in the coming weeks, right?
Yeah, and the biggest thing is, like we talked about, it's the least of our concerns. I mean, everybody wants a reliable backup, but it's a hell of a lot more important to have a franchise goalie. We now have one, so I
think though that the league. I mean, just hear me out on this. The league has changed, and as much as Wolf is going to be our franchise goalie and is probably going to get 50, 55 starts a night, maybe even 60. I don't know. I may be pushing it. We're still going to need a quality guy that's going to, be able to put in 30 games for us. And I don't know that that's not Dan Vladar. And one of the reasons I think maybe that Dan Vladar would be an option is I feel like we could get him at a fairly decent price.
Oh yeah, and he is going to be an option, but it's a hell of a lot easier to find a reliable backup than it is a franchise goalie. So,
absolutely.
But the days of anybody playing 65 plus games, certainly 70 plus anyway, are long gone, and thankfully so. For the sake of the goaltenders.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking back, and we'll get more into some retrospect in the weeks ahead, obviously. But there's a lot of things to be really, really happy about. Jonathan Huberto having a strong year. Next to the Wolf emergence, the next thing that I would point to right away is Matthew Coronado was a legitimate NHL goal scorer, and I'm going to say right now he's going to pot 30 to 40 next year, barring injury. But at the very least, we know that he's very, very capable. Connor Zary showed significant progress despite some injury troubles, kind of fluke injury troubles, really.
The same injury, like
yeah.
I always think it's funny, I did see that Ryan Huska said he has resumed skating in the recent days, and I don't think we'll see him tomorrow night, nor do I want to or think we should. But
pointless.
I always look at things and I always hear people say, well, the guy's injury prone. Well, I don't really consider Connor Zary injury prone when it's like two kind of, one's a knee, that's a penalty, and the other one was just like a real fluke.
Yeah.
Get caught up. So I don't know. I mean, is he injury prone? No. Is he unlucky this year? Yeah, probably. Fair to say.
Oh yeah, most certainly. There's no question. But yeah,
what did we learn though when we look at Connor Zary, and we're going to dig deep into this in the coming weeks, but when what did we learn? Is he a center, or is he still better on the wing? Or I feel like he's better on the wing, but I want him to be a center, but he's better on the wing. Is that fair?
Well, right now he's better on the wing, but I think he's going to be a center.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. And again, as we both said that we'll get into this later on. If we're going to talk about things that kind of derailed the season, apart from giving points away when they shouldn't have, Frost disappearing, Zary getting injured. We're talking about things that make us mad. I'm kind of mad that Igor Sharangovich just started to play half decent in the last 2 weeks of the season.
Are you?
Yeah, absolutely. He failed his team miserably for months at a time, and that's not cool. So
I agree with you. I think everything you just said is 100% correct. But to flip that on the positive, I'd be more pissed if we went into this offseason thinking that he was a complete bust. Because at least now I'm looking at the roster for next year and I'm like, okay, like maybe he can bring some scoring to a third line for us. Mm-hmm. And he's dynamic enough to the third line, versatile enough he can take some draws in a pinch. So at least I feel like we have a viable roster slot. Whereas I was honestly looking at, I always project out the roster, right? And I was like, God, do we buy this guy out? I was like putting him in the buyout calculator.
Yeah, we talked about that at one point. Yep.
So maybe, I mean, and I'm not saying that problem solved. Igor Sharangovich pots a couple and things are great in Sharangovich land. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
Hang on. Legoland.
Legoland. That's making more sense. But
that's copyright infringement, though.
But you know what I mean, though? Like, I feel like we're a little bit psychologically better off with him starting to show.
You gotta.
He looked like.
Yeah.
God, we talked about this last year, and I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. Did you know something? It's funny how when a guy's attitude looks like it's better, like they start producing more. And I don't know if their attitude gets better because they are producing. That's probably the better way to put it, but. He looks like he's having a lot more fun right now.
But he probably is or was.
Nice.
I mean, anyway, to your point, I mean, it's good to have things to look forward to going into next season. And him seemingly figuring out how to play hockey again is obviously a big help. But yeah, back to the things that pissed me off, because this should be a little bit of an angry show. His disappearance and very untimely reemergence, not timely enough, I should say. I don't know what the hell happened to Joel Farabee after he scored a damn near goal of the year candidate in Dallas and then just fell off the planet. So not real happy with him. Joel Farabee,
is he the future Blake Coleman on this team? I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way.
I wish.
I have a hard time. Believing that the Farabee that we saw the latter part of this season is the Farabee we're going to see the next few years. I just do. Maybe I'm just being stupidly optimistic, but
why are you being so optimistic?
I don't know. I should be more pissy, shouldn't I? Maybe that'd help the ratings if I was more pissy.
I'm not sure which one's more annoying.
Holy shots from God! You're just firing shots at me. This guy.
I'm firing shots everywhere right now, but I'm almost through my list. So
I don't know. He's got 11 goals this year, and his 20, 22. That's what he was getting. I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're going to get that back again. Was he miscast a little bit? Maybe should he? I think he's like a third line winger in my mind.
I mean, probably a bit. I mean, we've expressed some frustration throughout the season with some of Huska's tactics and player deployment, but I'm not going to throw in the towel on the guy yet. But I mean, he certainly left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, I agree. You want to talk about another guy that's left a lot to be desired?
Number 4,
minus 38.
So
put this in perspective, and then I'm going to let you comment. Mackenzie Weegar plus 18. Fire, go.
That's wild. That is that's a contrast right there, ladies and gents. Okay, so as far as that situation goes, that's that. You say minus 38?
Minus 38. The second worst on the Flames is Nazem Kadri at minus 19.
Yeah, and you know what? Okay, so here's the thing. This is all right. Now you got me really going here. Because somebody, I forget who it was because I didn't care enough to remember it, but somebody responded to me on X about, Ovechkin scored 51 goals one year, was a minus 28 or something. Like, that doesn't negate the importance of plus minus. Now, plus minus is a team stat, generally speaking. However, what I take issue with when you're trying to defend a guy who's minus a million, you better damn well score like a 2017 Erik Karlsson to justify it. Right?
So let me ask you this: who did Anderson play with 98% of this year?
Kevin Ball.
Kevin Ball's minus 9.
Yeah. But here's the difference. And again, here's the difference. This is what I want to point out because this is very, very important in both the case of Kadri and Anderson. Kadri very much was a player of you love what he gives you and you hate at certain moments what he gives you. Yep. He gave us the last 2 years, he has as many highlight reel goals as anybody, and he's a big game player.
I agree. He really proved me wrong.
Yeah, and we saw some egregious errors at times, but they were worth what he gave us. Otherwise, again, generally speaking, as I just said about a guy like Erik Karlsson in his prime, you have to score. Actually, I think I said in my response 50-some points plus to justify having that bad of a plus minus, to even attempt to justify it. But the bigger thing is, in both those players' cases, and this is where I get really pissed off about it, is if you're looking at stats, it's one thing. If you're watching the games, it's another, right? If you're watching the games, and in Kadri's case, I know damn well you can remember a few major errors that he made.
Yeah, he was in on the Anaheim debacle. Yeah, I do.
Exactly. And night after night after night after night, we watched Anderson make terrible defensive decisions. Many, many times with different colored jerseys around his net, I could see him like looking up, standing to the side of the crease, out of position, allowing the goal to be scored. He had a terrible, terrible season. I'm not saying Rasmus Anderson's a bad player. No. I'm saying he had a horrible season. Had he been at least average, would be in the playoffs right now. But he wasn't. He was nowhere near good enough, and I'm very curious to hear his garbage day interview.
Me too. But you know what else I'm also interested to hear? I would love to be a fly on the wall during negotiations when Craig Conroy goes, but you're minus, you want how much? You were minus 38.
Yep.
How much did you just say 9? Like, I think that's seriously going to be a conversation. Like, I how do you go to the table leveraging $8 or $9 million for 8 years with those numbers? And I know there's a whole hell of a lot more to a player than his plus minus.
Sure.
But he had 11 goals. I don't think you should have a patented t-shirt made stare when you only score 11.
Well, if you're going to, it has to be an iconic stare, which it was.
It was.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. He's not. He didn't do like. It's just so frustrating. Was he a, dynamo in the power play? No. Was he a defensive stalwart? No. It's like, okay, what are we talking about here? Tell me what makes Rasmus Anderson so important to this team now.
The perception is that he's like, I mean, seriously, like the perception of Rasmus Anderson is a somewhat elite defenseman in the league. And I'm not saying he can't be, and I'm not saying at some points of his career he has been, but boy, am I not ready to give 8 years to this guy. No, God, no. Anyway.
Okay. So let's, in light of this conversation, because the Anderson thing is going to go on for a while, we'll be talking about it several more times. I want to do like a quick hits, and I promised this to some people on X, and I got a few likes on it. So just to kind of some quick hits on guys that we'd bring back with a quick reason why. So I'm going to throw a couple names at you because you often ask me the questions, at least so it feels. I'm going to throw a few names at you, and I want your opinion as to what we're going to do with them. So number one, and I know you're excited for this one, Kevin Rooney.
Gosh.
Oh, you got to think about this?
Sometimes I do dumb things, Kyle. You know, no, I don't want to keep him. But the only thing that makes me hesitate slightly is I love what he brings to our penalty kill. And if the fourth line is built correctly, I think he's suitable. Because I know the price tag would be low, way lower than what he's getting now.
Well, that puts you below $1 million, which I would be okay with that if it's two-way. I don't want him on a one-way contract.
Well, he'll have to be in a one-way because someone will give him a one-way just because of his penalty killing ability.
Then they can have him. That's my take.
and you know what? If somebody takes him, I'm not losing any sleep.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect you to, right? But I think that's a fair answer. Who else? Joel Hanley.
Sign him as my seventh guy. I want him as my seventh guy, but I got two guys that I want him as my seventh. I'm afraid we're stuck with Jake Bean as our seventh.
Bean could be waived.
Here's what I do. I sign Hanley for $1 million and I bury Bean in the minors.
The problem, though, is that, as I said all year, I think Hanley's played over his head. To his credit, he's been fantastic.
Perfect. But if our defense is built right, he's a perfect 7 guy, right?
Oh, yeah, and could maybe even play, 5 or 6 type situation. But my concern is that after the season he had, somebody else going to say, they'll give you $1 million, we'll give you 2.
Yeah,
we'll give you 2.8 all day long, baby. We don't care. You know what I mean? Like that. That's just that.
I'd probably give him 1.8 on a 1 year.
No, I think because the team now, we always like to assume that players are loyal, which like anybody in life, a lot of them aren't. Yeah, I mean, we like to think he
Oliver
wants
Shillington.
Oh, let's not go there. Yeah. You mean noted NHL journeyman Oliver Shillington? Yeah, good luck with that, right? Yeah. I mean, we wish him well, but still, there's a few bad feelings.
I'm just a little bitter on that. I felt like he actually probably would have been a pretty good fit in Calgary this year. I really do.
That's sports. It's fine. If you can't handle it, then he's got the wrong occupation. But outside of situations like that, I think Hanley's going to be back. I think there's going to be we're going to see a little bit of it tomorrow night. We'll talk about that afterwards as well. But there's going to be a lot of opportunity in D, and Hanley I think can fit in a few different places there. No, I don't want him playing up as high as he was though, because there should be a more dynamic player in there. We're talking about Burstevich or Parekh or something like that, right?
Well, I always look at it this way. Like I always pair I'm probably getting ahead of myself because you got probably a lot more you got to ask me here. I always look at you pair a stay-at-home guy with an offensive guy. And we have a glutton of right defensive prospects coming up who are offensive minded. So
yep.
I know Uyghur's not going anywhere, nor should he or anything. That's crazy talk to get rid of him. Even though I did think he looked a lot slower towards the latter part of the season. But he should. He's been playing like 25 minutes a night.
He played a lot of minutes. Yeah, exactly.
So you have him on our number 1 on the right side. You have not a Burstevich, but a Parekh maybe on the right side, number 2, and you have Pahal number 3. And on the left side, you have like a stay-at-home guy like Ball with Parekh, and you fill the slots, right? I always look at it as you got to have an offensive guy with a defensive guy. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's just kind of the way I slot it.
Well, that's the way a lot of teams like to do it traditionally. It kind of gives that offensive guy the flexibility to do what he does best. And Parech's going to need that for sure. Now, since we're talking about D-men, we may as well continue this part of the conversation because I got a text probably a couple hours before it became official that Burstevich was recalled along with Sam Morton, which I think is really cool because I'm excited to see Morton play. And Parech's going to play as well. The last game of the season is utterly meaningless at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded of so many players that got thrown in that game that never played again or never amounted to anything. My point being that the last game of the season will be fun to see these guys, but training camp's going to be the summer they put in is going to be a hell of a lot more important, right? It's really cool. I mean, they get to go for that skate, hopefully pick up their first NHL point in some cases, whatever. But those two guys, Parekh and Stavich, are going to be very interesting to watch going into next year.
Is Sam Morton our fourth line center?
Well, he very well could be, and I think it's one of the things that
I'm just throwing that out there, man. Like, he's maybe the guy we want there. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing him. Bristevich, we visited with him on the show here, and I really cheer for the guy. He was a top-notch guy, and I want to see where he goes. And then Parekh, fun to see you broke the news that he was on his way to Calgary, and I want to talk a little bit about that because this market went, I don't know, is it fair to say batshit crazy? And Twitter was a blur, and that's where I've got 2 X factors this week. And we can go right into those right now. And Connie's burner. In this Short Flames tenure, Parekh has already been cut down by our media, held out of every game, seen his peers debut, and has seen defenders like Bean give away games. One has to wonder how long he's going to want to remain in Calgary when the time comes to extend. I thought this was slightly jumping the gun. Slightly.
Yeah. Well, I freaked out today because TSN had a spot about how the Habs finally found their superstar, Demidov. It's his first game. Fuck off. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, yeah, he had a great debut. Like, get over it. Like, I can't stand when they go that crazy. But it's good to be excited. But
yeah,
headlines like that are just clickbait. But anyway, which I guess is what they're in the business of. But this,
maybe an overreaction.
Well,
oh, come on here. Like, this guy understands the reasoning behind it. Now, I will defend the fact that if you're going to run guys out there who have been struggling, who I can't even say he's struggling right now because Bean has been better the last couple of weeks, but guys who struggled throughout the year, and you're going to hold Parekh out because you got Bean in. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that, but I also respect the fact that, hey, we were in the middle of a big chase, and God forbid us, Parekh did make a defensive error that cost us a game. Probably undue pressure on a young player, probably not a great situation. So I understand both sides of it, but let's take a look at our second X factor here. That one was from Tayab. Parekh might have ruined the chemistry if he played today. And I thought it was hilarious because all year we heard about how good a chemistry this team has, And I just thought it was comical that this guy took that angle with Parekh. I know he said it in.
I like this one too. New ways to read it, right?
Yes, but I read it as he's joking.
Satire. Yeah.
That's how I read it. But I thought it was a clever X factor, right? I thought it was pretty funny.
And I think so too. I do take major issue with coaches that don't take chances in young players, even in important games. And I was one of the people who was like, I don't agree with not playing Parekh. You recalled him; he should get into a game because I do think he could have helped.
But our power play was what, 0 for 9 or 0 for 8 in the Anaheim game? Is that what it was? The Anaheim game, right? That whole game was a piss me off blur. But I mean, like, he could have helped. I remember, and I'm not, nobody in Calgary Flames fanland think I'm comparing here, but you remember clearly when Cale Makar stepped in for the Colorado Avalanche in the playoffs against the Flames. Yep. I'm not comparing Zane Parekh to Cale Makar, but he's a number 9 overall pick. He was drafted to be a game breaker, right? I don't know.
Well, hey, listen, let's get one thing straight right now in terms of, credentials at 18, 19 years old. You can compare them all day long. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Parekh is every bit the prospect that Makar was. That he would be as good as Makar is. I wouldn't call it a stretch. I wouldn't call it likely because Makar is a superstar, but it's certainly in the realm of possibilities.
I think he'll be as good offensively. I worry a little bit defensively, and I think he's going to take that knock his whole career, right? As long as he's not defensively like Erik Karlsson, I'll be okay. You've got to be better than that. But
can you imagine, like, I don't know. I imagine having his offensive skills and having a stick like Nick Lidstrom. He'd be the best defenseman of all time.
Yeah, let me throw another dagger here. If Parekh played all the games this year, right? Would he be minus 38?
Nope.
Okay. Point
No, very simply because he would have scored a hell of a lot more points. I think as a rookie in the NHL, Parekh will land 45 to 55 points. Yeah. I think he does things better than the way he uses his body to protect the puck in offensive situations. He does it better than most defensemen in the NHL now. Granted, you need a lot of other tools to be an NHL defenseman, but he would have put up enough points to negate a lot of the minuses he would have incurred. He would have finished it minus 15, maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm just throwing that out there as like, I didn't mean it as a last minute jab on Anderson, but it is. No.
It's a funny thing to point out, right? Yeah, it's a funny thing to point out, and again, it harkens back to the discussion for weeks now. How do you justify giving Anderson that kind of money when you have all these defensive prospects the way Etienne Morin is with the Moncton Wildcats right now? They're up 2-1 in the second round against Baie-Comeau. The Cats are leading as we're recording, so they could go home with could go into the last game Baie-Comeau up 3-1 in the series. Morin's a great defenseman too. And he gets overshadowed a lot by Brustevich and Parekh, and understandably so, but we have so many good defensive players, or prospects, I should say, that are ready to get into the NHL, or at least start seeing action, right?
Yeah. Do you ever think, we have a lot of them, right? Do you ever think that maybe we move one of them or move two of them to try to get a good center?
All the time. I fully expect that's going to happen at some point.
I do too, and I think it's a smart move. But I mean, that's probably another topic for another day. There was some signings though. Calgary signed a Calgary product, Carter King, to play with the Wranglers now.
Well, yeah, the Wranglers now, but I mean, this is a pretty.
You know what? I'm gonna boohoo this one. Okay, here's why. He's 23 years old, and he is a penalty killing face-off man. What do the Flames need? A large body scorer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying we don't need depth in the organization, but like,
hey, hang on. What face-off penalty kill, man? We need a fourth line center.
Great. I know, and he's 23, so maybe he is a guy too. Maybe he is a guy.
Hey, if he's quick,
now he'll do that to prove me wrong, right?
That's you know what?
Work. I mean, that's how things work.
Kid's got a great name too. I'd love to have a Flames King jersey.
Yeah,
Carter King. Just fly. It's a great name.
Bother you? Calgary's really big at this, and Calgary's not the only one. My state does this all the time. It drives me insane. Why do we favor like? Well, he's a Calgary kid. Like that makes it like okay. Like I just want the best freaking player. I don't care if he's from Brazil. Like I just want the best player. Like I don't care. Like Minnesota is huge. The Minnesota Wild suffered miserably for years because they hired from within the state all the time. Like, oh, he's a Minnesota guy. He's going to be good. Oh, he's going to be good. He's a Minnesota guy. And it's like, well, he's not good. Like he's not good. So, I mean, I just don't want to get down that trap. And I don't know why I went off on that tangent because I don't even know Carter King. And I watched him play this year a couple times and he was pretty damn good. He had
I think
43 points in 44 games.
Yeah. A real good I think in this case, it's a little exciting that he's from Calgary because I think it gave Calgary an upper hand on signing him.
I agree.
Because he's a pretty desirable free agent, right? So, and you know what? I like the fact that Connor keeps trying these guys out. We're going to see Siniev play against the Kings as well. So that should be cool.
Yeah. Yep. That should be good. We signed a goalie too, 2020 around 7th rounder. Sergeyev from Penn State. He had a .919.
Yeah, he's been really good too.
Yeah, he's been
really good. He's been sneaky, man. Like all these peripheral, I'll call them peripheral signings, so none of them are real sexy names, at least as of yet. I dig that kind of stuff, man. That's what made the Flames so successful in the 80s was, signing guys in college ranks. Like, I'm sure that influenced your fandom as an American, right? Was seeing the Flames signing guys from places that weren't very far from you.
For sure. College hockey, like I know like things are goofy between the two right now and it'll be fine. Don't worry. But like college hockey is really big in the States, like really, really big.
Huge. Absolutely huge.
It's really big. And it is going to be the sought after place. I mean, Henry Muse signed with Michigan. That's where he's headed, right? I mean, these universities are it's big time. And I know a lot of Canadians will say, well, they only play on the weekends, and I agree. I agree. But I've also been told there's two sides to that. It gives a lot more time for strength training, and at the age these guys are, that's what moves them to the next level. I remember when Jonathan Taze came to the University of North Dakota, people the criticism on him was, well, he lacks upper body strength and da da da. Well, when he left the University of North Dakota, he was ready to step into a Chicago Blackhawks lineup, and look at his career you saw from him. Same with the Zach Parise. Same with the list goes on. And I'm speaking of guys from the University of North Dakota where I live. So I'm obviously show a little bit of favoritism there, but I do know what the college programs and how they move people forward at an age that is more NHL ready, right?
100%. And that's kind of the knock against the junior ranks in Canada, in some cases at least, is that, the strength of the program and the competition, depending on what part of the country you're in or where that particular team is. Like right now, for example, Moncton is running roughshod over the rest of the Quebec League. That loss against Baie-Comeau was their first since February, I think. But anyway, point being, the college ranks can be a way to fast track players to the NHL because of the way they prepare. Now, I wouldn't say there's one route that's better than the other. It really depends on the particular program you're talking about. But
I think, like I always said, people would always say, what would you do with your kid, living in the States? And I'm like, dude, if my kid was a first line projected draft pick, he's going to play in the WHL or going up into the CHL. He is. I just feel like that's the best place at age 17 to go, right?
But see, that's the job of these scouts too, right? Is to go visit with the players and say, hey, this is the best place for you, right?
Yeah, I mean that would have been my path. Now with the eligibility of CHL players coming to the college, now that's going to change and skew things. I still think that would be the place to go, but maybe coming back down, and I think you're going to see a ton of this. I do. I think you're going to see a ton of people go up, play 2 years in the WHL. I'm just using that as an example. And then they're gonna come out of Brandon and head down and play for the University of Minnesota for a year / 2 years, and then move on into the pro ranks. I think that's the road that we're gonna see happen a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. But in any case, looking at the Flames and the things that they're doing with regards to scouting the CHL, scouting the college hockey ranks, scouting overseas. I mean, look at a guy like David Rittich a few years ago, who nobody had ever heard of, and now is an NHL regular.
Adam Klapka.
Klapka. We talk about guys who are going to be an impact player in this team next year. Klapka's on my list.
He's not a first line wing though. He's a fourth line wing, right? And just let him be a fourth liner, and he'll be good. He's going to make a fourth line good.
Yep. Oh, I mean, I'd even put him on the power play in front of the net in the second unit sometimes. Right?
I would too. I would too.
That big. He's got some hands.
Maybe he's a third. I don't know, but I would say he's probably more of a fourth.
It's hard, it's hard to do this show with a team like Calgary right now for all the right reasons, because there's so many things to talk about. And you almost get to compartmentalize them. And it's like Dustin Wolf, for example. It's like, that's done. Dustin Wolf's amazing, right? Yeah. There's nothing to debate there. He's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But then we move on to the prospects and the unknowns, and it's like there's so many positive things around this team, which kind of brings me to the topic of how apparently the culture is so much more positive. There's been a lot of back and forth about that. And I think that's why, to circle back to the start of this particular episode, that's why there was so much talk about, the players not being mad enough necessarily, because they're looking at the game differently, I think, than they had maybe in the past. I'm sure they're still disappointed, obviously, but
yeah,
the culture's changed, And
you know what? We haven't had locker clean out, and that's what we'll discuss next episode next week. But I think there's a lot of realists, I think me and you have looked at this too, and were we crabby last night about it? I probably wasn't near as mad as I thought I was going to be.
And for those who are watching my tweets, I was really trying more to be funny than mad, because at that point I'm like, well, I can't change it. It is what it is, right?
It kind of hit me though that it's like, wow, tomorrow's our last game. That's kind of weird. Of the year, it seems like it went really fast, but I mean, I was angry, but I was more like, I look at the situations that we had this year and how things we actually answered a lot of questions that me and you had going into the season, and I feel good about that. I feel good about what we learned this year. I feel good about some players like Matthew Coronado. I'm way more excited. I questioned his skating ability. Whoever's teaching him skating, he's moving up the ranks every single year, and I mean, we're progressing some of these young guys, and that's something this franchise had a struggle bus with for many, many years. And there was just some real good positives this year.
Well, I mean, one of the highlights of the season for me was being in Montreal when Coronado scored the overtime winner. Just an absolute bullet, right? And you know, the thing is, and you just hit the nail on the head, whether you realize it or not, about the season being over. So I'm looking at the calendar, here in my home studio, and Tuesday, April 15th was the day we got eliminated from playoff contention.
Who saw that coming?
If you said that last fall, somebody would have said, "Oh, you meant to say February or March."
And I'm going to piss some people off by saying this, but I was angry about this probably more last night than the final scores. For people to see, these pro tankers that are saying, "See, this is exactly what we said was going to happen. We're going to fall right out of the playoffs. We're going to get the crappiest draft pick." You know what? Like, who plays professional sports to lose? Like, ask the Blackhawks how the rebuild's going. Ask the Sabres how the rebuild's going. How about we ask the Dallas Stars how the retool went? Let's ask the Washington Capitals how the retool went. Come on, guys. This is how it played out. Our team played their ass off this year. They came up short, which sucks because I wanted the experience for these players to play in the playoffs. But damn it, we did everything we could, right? Did we throw a few games away? Yes. Do we learn from that? I sure as hell hope so, right?
Yeah, the only thing that I really struggle with is looking at the East, thinking we're firmly in a playoff spot. If we're an Eastern,
we were last year too.
Yeah, it's so, man, that drives me nuts. But well, there's a lot of things that drive me nuts, as anybody who listens to this show obviously knows. But the thing is that keeps coming up that really also irks me. It's like all the talk about the draft pick we traded in Montreal when we dumped Sean Monahan, and I'm going to tell you why. So Sean Monahan rebuilt his career, and God love that. Sean Monahan's a great guy. I've met him. I've met his dad. Great family. Great retribution story. None of us as Flames fans will ever forget the embrace that he and Johnny Gaudreau shared after Game 7 against Dallas 22. But this is what happened. Okay, all this talk about the Flames and how horrible that trade was, and it was horrible. I would put it right up there, right just behind the Doug Gilmour trade, the Mark Savard trade. It's one of the worst trades the Flames ever made. Giving around giving away a pick rather, and giving away a 60-point player. But guess what? It was almost 3 years ago now, and it happened. It's over. We can't undo it. It was a bad trade by a GM who no longer works for this team. I don't care. I don't pay any attention at all to where that pick lands because
no, either because we can't do anything about it.
And it doesn't really affect the future of the team because the reality is we have so many good players in the pipeline and so many good players in the team, many of whom we didn't expect would be as good as they are, as quickly as they are. We have the assets and the ability to move things around such that pick will be nothing to worry about in the not too distant future. So,
and another thing too, and I know the negative guys will say, well, you don't know how all these prospects are going to turn out. I don't. And you know what? I guarantee you some of them aren't going to turn out. And Zane Parekh may be one of them that doesn't ever translate to the NHL. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be considered a threat.
But I feel like I have a hell of a lot better chance with a guy like him and what I've seen from him, and a guy like Dustin Wolf, which we saw it again this year. I feel more comfortable with that than some of the years past. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Dustin Wolf, this is a really good note, or one of the notes we should finish on. I think the Flames had actually posted this, and I looked at it at a glance while I was working today. But, it's his birthday today too, 24. Yep. That's right, I forgot about that.
24. Geez, young.
They shared. I don't know where it is now, but they shared the company that Wolf keeps as a rookie goaltender for wins, goals against, saves. I think that because the Canadians, well, we should check. It's likely the Canadians are going to the playoffs. Dustin Wolf's case for the Calder is as strong as you can make for a goaltender. He's been unbelievable. Yeah, the Habs are up 3-1 at the second intermission. So at the time of this recording,
Lane Hudson's going to get the Calder, and he's
going to get and he's a fantastic defenseman. If the Flames made the playoffs, and Wolf had maybe 2 more shutouts, different discussion altogether. But what a season from Dustin Wolf. This is. Can you imagine? Just think about this. We traded Jacob Markstrom. We only have 1 more year to pay that little pittance of his salary left, by the way. Next season, we pay 1.18 or something to the Devils. Or I should say pay to Markstrom of his salary. But we traded Markstrom to make room for Dustin Wolf, and we got Kevin Ball as part of that.
Yeah.
That is tidy work. That is the best trade, bar none, that Conroy's made so far. If he makes another one like that this summer, Next season, we're not only making the playoffs, we might win a round or two. Unbelievable work.
Yeah. 2 NHL things I want to talk about before we quickly get out of here because the buzzer's going to go here. Canucks come back, score 3 goals in 1 minute to force overtime against Dallas. Did you see that?
I did.
Did Dallas look like they were a beer league team and didn't give a shit? That's what I thought.
That's such a leading question. How could I possibly answer you any other way than yes, Brad? That's correct.
Perfect. Thanks for agreeing. You're the only person that agrees with me on stuff. Here's another one I wanted to ask you about. Did you see the fight the other night between Derek Forbert and that Yakov Trenin guy?
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah.
I hate the Canucks, right? I don't like the Canucks at all. But
I really have never heard you mention or hated the Canucks on the show
yeah,
before.
I know. It's the first time I've said that.
Actually, when you asked me to join this show, I think the second thing you said was, I'm going to tell you a lot how much I hate the Canucks. I hope that's okay.
Oh, yeah. He breaks his orbital bone. What is he doing on a sucker punch when the guy's down? Like,
yeah, that was brutal.
God, that's classless garbage. I hate stuff like that in our league. I hate it.
Well, fun fact. I do. First of all, I agree. It was incredibly stupid and reckless and dangerous. I love to see if there's going to be a fight when a player's falling, the other player puts his hand behind the back of the head of the player falling.
Yes.
That is the classiest, safest. Like that's just great. But I had Derek Forbert's Black Sea game worn jersey, and I traded it.
I got his Winnipeg Jets one.
That's right, and I traded one of his Flames ones, one of the few that exist. I think there's only 3 of them. I traded it for one of my Trevor Lewis jerseys. So
that's good trade.
Yeah, I'm gonna get them all. It's gonna be like Pokemon, man. Gotta catch them all one of these days.
Do you know that next time we talk, which will be the Tuesday drop next week, the playoffs will be already underway. So we got 30 seconds. I'm going to rattle off the rounds in the Western Conference because we don't know the East yet. I want you to tell me who you think is going to win.
Yep.
Jets, Blues.
Jets. Gotta hope the Jets.
Me too, but I'm afraid. I want the Jets. Stars, Avalanche.
Avalanche.
Me too. That's what I think too. Golden Knights, Wild.
Golden Knights.
Golden Knights. Kings.
Although
Oilers.
I'd love to see Fleury start that series and win it. Kings Oilers. I think this is year the Kings would knock them off.
I think the Kings knock them off this year too.
In injury trouble, like Noah Holm, for example, and the Kings are a deep team.
Yeah.
You know what?
Night, what?
Let's just take a stab at these. There's only one series we don't know, right?
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you. Yeah, I'm gonna ask you. So let's do. What do we got? We've got Toronto, Ottawa.
Toronto. I want Ottawa so bad. But...
I know, me too. I'm worried about it. I want Ottawa as well. Tampa, Florida. Ooh,
Florida, but it's going to be good.
I'm going to say Tampa, but it is going to be good. Carolina, New Jersey.
Carolina kills them 4 straight.
I'm going to say in 6, but yeah, it's going to be a doozy. And then we got. I'm going to assume based on the current standings, or what's likely to be the standings after tonight. Montreal, Washington.
Montreal upsets them.
I think so too. I really believe that. I think that, Demidov, despite the fact that I told people to calm down about him earlier, he's a real wild card. Hudson, we talked about. Gallagher's a great playoff performer. Suzuki, Caulfield, and I hope so too. I said my father hates the Habs, but I told him again tonight over dinner. I'm like, Dad, you got to understand. I don't care how much you hate the Habs. It's better for hockey when the Habs are in the playoffs. That building is absolutely untouchable.
It's better for hockey. It really is.
And if it is Columbus, Washington, I think Washington runs roughshod over them.
Yeah.
They're
Washington will beat Columbus.
Yeah.
We end the season Thursday night, Calgary and LA, the Fire makeup game. We'll be back next Tuesday drop. We'll wrap on that Kings game. We'll talk some prospect performance in that game. Do locker clean-out discussion and wrap on the season. In the off-season, Kyle and I will be here every single week in the off-season. Some of them will be some regular episodes. We're going to have a live draft free agency show, and then we'll have numerous special flame topic shows that we'll talk a variety of different things between good trades, bad things, a whole bunch of stuff. But we're going to be here every week.
Every week? You really want to do that in August?
We're doing it.
Okay, we're going to pre-record 10 for August.
Yes,
you know how slow that can be. Is this in my contract? I didn't read the fine print.
This is in your contract. I wrote your contract last night. Oh, no. We're going to have fun. We're going to pre-record a bunch of them and make sure you guys get something to listen to every week. That's how it's best, right? Hockey never stops. So we're going to do that. We are going to do that. A big thanks goes out to our buddies. Josh sent us CD today, Searching for Scarlet. Kyle and I both got it. I got mine today. I think. Did you get yours today too?
I got mine on Friday.
Oh, see, I'm in the States. Takes a little longer.
There's no international border between these guys and I. Just a lot of provinces.
No, yeah, they're a long ways away, but good music. You'll hear them on the intro of this show and the outro of this show. Flames fans, it's been a rough week, but a fun week, and I don't know. Hopefully, we've got a little bit more positivity to the negativity that we're not playing in the playoffs. But I don't know.
That was fun. That was an absolute blast, and I guess I sound like the Flames now. Maybe I'm being too positive. Let's end on that note.
I think Kyle got on the show crabby, and he's ending the show happy. I
drank a lot of water.
One thing today. I got one thing today. All right, Flames fans, enjoy what's left of the season to one game. We're back next week. Have a good week, Flames fans. Enjoy the playoffs. The playoffs are here. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames hockey talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.